Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Political Ray. We've got some stories going on for y'all, and we've got some interesting ones today. Now, look, we've got a Tesla in Austin that there was incendiary devices that were discovered. Bomb squad was called. Big old hoopla over this. Um, Doge finds some more stuff. You know, more wasteful spending, more fraud that they had found. We'll get into that. Mahmoud, there's some more news about him that we'll get into a little bit. A copycat of the Smollett was just charged with falsifying a crime report and whatnot, and have you. And we got the Pete Hegseth story. Now, look, we'll get into that. There's a lot. There's a couple different stories surrounding that, but we'll get into that too. But first one, we'll just get into the Tesla dealership because this is getting wild. Okay, as far as the Tesla dealerships getting, there's just it's getting insane. This whole Tesla thing, I understand people don't like. There's the narrative that's around Elon Musk. People don't like him because of the narrative, but you, attacking a guy's business when he only owns like 13% of the business, and this is stupid. This is, in my opinion, I don't understand how anybody could just. I mean, this is acts of terrorism, plain and simple. I don't understand how anybody could be okay with this kind of stuff. But anyway, we'll get into this story here. This is Austin, Texas. Okay, incendiary devices located at dealership. Austin police say. Now this is from the Post Millennial, and we'll get into this real quick. Now this is crazy. This is wild. Incendiary devices were discovered at a Tesla dealership in Austin, Texas on Monday morning. Authorities said the latest in widespread acts of violence targeting the electric car maker. This, again, I'm going to say, this is domestic terrorism. To say anything else is just incorrect. This is instilling fear within people to not only not buy a Tesla, but it instills fear in people who own Teslas because there's all kinds of attacks on personal vehicles. I mean, there's keyings happen. I see it on X. Just scrolling through the timeline, I see several every single time I scroll through of somebody else's Tesla getting keyed. And that's the other thing. People that are doing this are just stupid. These cars have like 500 cameras that surround this vehicle. You're not going to not get caught doing this stuff. And I've seen a couple of them try to do it all sly and not, try to hide their face and whatnot, but it doesn't work. As I said, these cameras, they're all around the car. To think that you're not going to get caught on camera doing this stuff, you're just an idiot. Anyway, officers with Austin Police Department responded to the dealership along US Highway 183 just after 8 a.m. when they found the suspicious devices, authorities told Fox News Digital. The bomb squad was called in to investigate. The devices, which were determined to be incendiary, were taken into police custody without incident. Thank God. This crap's got to stop. I mean, FBI, ATF, they need to be all over this crap. I'm not even a fan of the ATF nor the FBI, but look, this is what their job is. Handle it. Come on, Cash, Pam Bondi, Dan. I know Dan just got in there, but come on. This crap has got to stop until we see accountability. Now, there's been a few arrests, and people are facing up to 20 years in prison over this, and good, they need to. Anyway, police said the investigation remains open, and there is no further information available for release at this time. Tesla security has been spotlighted after nationwide incidents targeting electric vehicles, dealerships, storage lots, and charging stations in protest of Musk, who President Donald Trump tapped to lead the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. DOGE was tasked with slashing wasteful federal spending and has laid off tens of thousands of federal employees as part of its cuts. Now, as a side note to this, I understand that people are upset about people losing their jobs, but how can you not be okay with cutting federal waste? This is your taxpayer dollars. And I understand some of these people might not even work. So they don't really care because they don't work. They don't have taxes on them because they're not working. That being said, people being laid off. Okay. There's a lot of people that need jobs. I understand that. But there was no outrage, no cries of, injustice or anything like that when you've got people that were getting laid off or let go from their jobs for refusing to take an experimental jab. When COVID-19 hit and people were getting fired from their jobs because they did not want to take a vaccination that was untested. This is something that happened. People were being fired, let go from their jobs because they would not take an experimental vaccine. People were let go from the military. People were let go from their jobs. There was no outcry, no rage. From the mainstream media, you had, well, they should just take the jab. They need to take the vaccine. If they would have just taken the vaccine, they'd still have their jobs. No sense of outcry. Same thing with when President Biden first came into office and he shut down the Keystone XL pipeline. All those pipeline workers were laid off. No outrage, no cries from the left. And the outrage that was felt by people that were on the right, they weren't going and destroying and lighting up, people's houses or anything like that in protest. This is domestic terrorism, and it has to stop. Let's see. So far, 3 individuals have been charged in federal cases after using Molotov cocktails to attack Tesla properties around the country. Each faces charges that carry a minimum penalty of 5 years and up to 20 years in prison. Good. Accountability. I'm going to go back to, there was a story about there was a protest at a Tesla dealership, ended up turning violent and into a riot. One of the kids that was there, she was 18 years old, and her parents have come out saying she's just a kid, blah blah blah. She got caught up in everything. You're 18 years old. Accountability. It sucks, yeah, but you shouldn't have been there in the first place. Even if you were there and then it ended up turning violent, that's when you leave. There's no reason for it. Accountability. I noticed it sucks. Yeah, 18-year-old, their life is pretty much screwed because they made a bad choice. I know it sucks. But that's you're an adult. Anyway, let's see. 3 days of committing crimes without consequences have ended. Attorney General Pam Bondi said Thursday, "Let this be a warning. If you join these waves of domestic terrorists against Tesla properties, the Department of Justice will put you behind bars." There's your warning. Like I said, it sucks, especially for the young people. But you know what? Accountability. I'm a firm believer in it. Just like, in Congress, accountability goes for the left and the right. Until accountability is actually taking place, consequences for actions. On Monday, the FBI launched a task force Monday in an effort to catch those responsible for setting fire to Tesla vehicles and charging stations, and was in eyeing and was in eating in all. I don't know, that might be a typo. Anyway, calling for more, the New York Post reported. Let's see. The 10-person task force will deploy personnel with the Bureau of Alcohol and Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. I hate that agency, but that's besides the point. FBI's counterterrorism division, including its domestic terrorism operations section and weapons of mass destruction, the report states. Good. Let's see. The ATF is also embedding personnel in FBI field offices, starting with San Antonio, Texas, where some of the Molotov cocktail attacks have been carried out. Look, they need to investigate this. This crap has to stop. These people that are already been caught with the Molotov cocktail stuff, it needs to be expedited. Expedite it. Make an example. These people, hold them accountable, and let the other people that are thinking about doing this crap, maybe it'll let them think twice about maybe doing some of this stuff because there's going to be consequences for the actions. That's what I think. That's what I think needs to be happen. Until there's accountability for these actions, people are just going to keep doing it. If you fast track these trials, have these people held accountable, maybe think people will actually think twice before doing this kind of crap. Anyway, so this is kind of the stuff that people, and I don't, like I said, I don't understand it. I don't understand how you could be not okay with a department that's finding all kinds of waste and fraud and everything else with our taxpayer dollars, mind you. This is our money that's going to God knows what. And these people are, for some reason, are not okay with finding the fraud within the government. Make it make sense to me, because it doesn't. How are you not okay with this department finding waste and fraud and saving the American taxpayer dollars? Make it make sense, because it doesn't. There's no reason for people to be upset about this. As I said, I can understand people being upset about people losing their jobs. I am on board with that. I understand. It sucks. But if these departments should have never been in place in the first place. So, and again, I'll go back to, there was no kind of outrage, no outcries over people losing their jobs for not taking the jab, and the pipelines, people losing those jobs. There was no outcry over that either from the left. So anyway, so Doge, they got some SBA loans. This is wild. Take a look at this clip, and you can let me know what you think. This is insane. The stuff that Doge is finding that our taxpayer dollars has been going to is just wild, and it's insane. I don't know how people can not be okay with this. But anyway, take a look at the clip. They just found more. This is crazy. Take a look.
Well, a clear case of fraud was with the Small Business Administration, where they were handing out loans, $330 million worth of loans to people under the age of 11.
Let that sink in for just a moment now. They found SBA loans, $300 million, going to people under the age of 11. Either there's some very smart entrepreneurs at a very young age, or this is fraud. I'm going to go with the latter.
I think the youngest, Kelly, was a 9-month-old who got a $100,000 loan.
9-month-old kid got a $100,000 loan. Methinks this might be fraud. Anyway.
It's a very precocious baby we're talking about here.
Well, we're tackling the fraud, waste, and abuse in the agency. We've seen, hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud go unprosecuted, so we're taking that on. We have a zero tolerance policy for fraud, and we continue to crack down on it and make sure people are held accountable.
Good. Again, it comes down to accountability. Until people are held accountable for the actions that they do, this crap is just going to continue. Again, whether you're Democrat, Republic, civilian, congressperson, I don't care. Accountability. Until there's accountability for actions taken, this crap will continue. Tell me I'm wrong. Anyway.
It's amazing. And you have a lot of that. We found far too much of it. It's a pure fraud. We like to use the words waste and abuse because they sort of sound good, but many of these things are pure fraud. Now, there was a contract that you've heard about where Stacey Abrams got $2 billion just before we took over, and it was a...
And the whole Stacey Abrams thing, I touched on that. That's old, but I've touched on that before. You can go look at the other video if you want. But look, as I said, waste and abuse, accountability. There needs to be accountability. Until there is, this crap will just keep, it's just going to keep happening. Hold these people accountable. The people who got the loans, the people who approved the loans. Is there no like screening process when people get these SBA loans? I'm not sure how exactly it works. You can let me know. Do people just apply for them and nobody looks at birthdays or anything like that? They just approve the loans? How does that work? How do you approve a 9-month-old kid for $100,000? How does that happen? Unless they actually know, and they're just pushing it through anyway. I don't understand it. Again, I'll say I don't understand how SBA loans happen. I've never applied for one. I've never gotten one. I don't know how that would work. You can let me know. I'm not sure. Anyway, accountability. Anyway, we'll go ahead and move on to Mahmoud Khalil is in the news again. This is from the Post Millennial. This we'll take a look at this. Mahmoud Khalil failed to disclose connections to UNRWA in visa application, according to the DOJ. This is something that should have been looked into when he was applying for his student visa. And again, I'll say it again. I've said it before. I'll say it 100 times more again. This guy needs to be deported. Secretary of State has already taken his visa away. It became null and void when he graduated. The guy's not in school. And people frame that he's still a student. He's not. He's not a student anymore. The guy needs to go back. He loves the country he came from. He needs to go back there. He wants death to America, and he's said it. He's handed out flyers with that saying on it. The guy needs to go back he loves it so much he can go back. He doesn't need to be here. There's no reason for us to keep him in prison here, taking our taxpayer dollars in order to feed him, clothe him, house him, all that stuff. Send him back. I don't care. Anyway, let's see. The Trump administration has said that Mahmoud Khalil, a leader of the anti-Israel protest at Columbia University, withheld information about his involvement with the UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees when he applied for his visa. The new accusations against Khalil come after the Colombian student had his visa revoked by the Trump administration, was detained by the Department of Homeland Security, and is now facing deportation. Why is he still facing deportation? Send him packing. Get him out of this country. I don't care. I don't care that his wife's here pregnant. I don't care. Maybe he should have thought about that before he committed acts like this, committing acts of violence, and, send him packing. I don't care. Anyway, the DOJ said that Khalil fraudulently applied for his student visa because he did not disclose the membership in certain organizations, such as the UNRWA, per the New York Post. UNRWA has been stripped of tens of millions of funding for aid from the United States after reporting showed that staffers at the agency were involved in the October 7 attacks on Israel and have links to terrorism. Done. Or maybe try him as a terrorist. I don't know. You can let me know, but I don't think he needs to go away. He needs to go. I don't know why this guy's still hanging around. I don't know why there's still news about him, but let's see. Blah 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 blah. Since Khalil has been detained, there has been an outcry from the left surrounding free speech protections. It's not free speech. When you commit acts of violence, that student visa that you're holding is null and void. I don't agree with the fact that people here on student visas have the right to actively protest. I don't agree with that. But that's the way things are, and I have to deal with it. But once that protest turns into violence, gloves are off. It's done. You don't get to hide behind that student visa anymore. Your rights are as far as like your rights to how America is run and your rights to free speech and all that stuff is gone. It's done. You don't have that right anymore. Anyway, free speech protections and his lawyers have argued that he was illegally targeted for deportation over his active activities at Columbia University. He wasn't targeted. His lawyer's an idiot. And he was picked up because he's here on a student visa. He's here on a student visa, which has now been revoked because he committed acts of violence and domestic terrorism. That's it. Ugh. Every time I read something about this guy, it just makes me more angry because I don't think he needs to stay here anymore. They can send him packing. I don't care where he goes. Just get him out of the country. Keep him out of. I don't care. Anyway. Oh, let's see. The Khalil was charged under a law that allows the Secretary of State to deport individuals who are considered to be a threat to U.S. foreign policy. That charge, along with the new accusations, now stand against him. Khalil is being held in an immigration detention facility in Louisiana. Why? Get the trial over. Send him packing. Put him in prison. Whatever. I don't want to hear about this guy anymore. Other than the only thing I want to hear about this guy anymore is that he's been found guilty, and he's either being deported or he's going to spend his life in prison. That's it. The guy's a domestic terrorist because he's here on a student visa. He's a terrorist. And I don't care if YouTube takes me down for saying that word. I don't care. That's what he is. Anyway, we've got a Jessie Smollett copycat. That's what I think. This woman, we'll take a look at this. She has close that real quick. This is from Post Millennial as well. This woman put a noose at her desk. This is if I read this correctly, she's on the school board. And this woman put a noose at her desk claiming a hate crime. And then after further investigation, it was actually found out that she actually put it there herself, and now she's facing charges for falsely, putting forth a false police report and what have you. So throw the book at her. This stuff can't. I mean, this is ridiculous. Anyway, hate hoax. Allentown, PA school employee charged after planting noose on her own desk, reporting it to police. Look, this is just a case of play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Or F around and find out. This is just stupid. Why somebody would do this it's beyond me. I don't understand it. But anyway, a Pennsylvania school employee has been charged after allegedly planting a noose on her own desk and then reporting it to law enforcement. Allentown police announced on Monday that Latarsha Brown, a member of the Allentown School District Board of Directors, has been charged with tampering with or fabricating physical evidence and false reports to law enforcement, both misdemeanors. Anyway, why? Why? To be a victim? Think about this. The left, all they know how to do is be professional victims. This is just, I don't understand why you would do something like this for what? Attention? You had to have known that you were going to be found out. I don't understand why people do this crap. I just don't. Anyway, Allentown Police Criminal Investigation Division Lieutenant Stephen, I apologize if I get this name wrong, Milkovitz, said during a press conference that on January 10th, 25, around 7:11 a.m., Brown arrived at her City Hall office around 7:38 a.m. Brown notified the local police that she had discovered what she believed to be a noose on her desk, and when she came in that morning. Anyway, let's see. I believe this is the chief employee of Allentown, Pennsylvania. Latarsha Brown has been charged after placing a noose on her desk to stage a hate crime. Take a look at the video. I believe this is the chief of police, but we'll take a look at the video here.
The purpose of this press conference is to provide an update regarding the noose investigation. I want to take a moment to thank the following agencies who assisted in this case: Lehigh County District Attorney's Office, the Pennsylvania State Police Crime Lab, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The Allentown Police Department conducted a thorough investigation, including interviews of persons, analysis of evidence, and consultation with the District Attorney's Office of Lehigh County. As a result of the subsequent investigation, Latarsha Brown was charged with tampering with or fabricating physical evidence, a misdemeanor of the second degree, and false reports to law enforcement, a misdemeanor of the third degree. As in every criminal case, the fact that a warrant has been issued or a complaint has been filed is merely an accusation. The defendant is presumed innocent until and unless proven guilty.
Look, okay, I'll give the benefit of the doubt. Yes, in our justice system, people are innocent until proven guilty. But methinks if they brought charges against her, they got the evidence that they need that would hold up in court. So, again, I'll say why. People out there, you let me know. I don't understand it. Why would you do something like this? For what? Attention? To be a victim? Why? You can let me know. I don't understand it. I probably won't. Anyway, authorities launched an investigation to find the person responsible, during which video surveillance and building access control records were reviewed to identify who was on the third floor when Brown worked between the time Brown left her office and the night prior and the morning she came into work on January 10th. So I guess it looks like just a little tiny noose that was placed on her. It looks like her laptop. Um, why? It, even if now, given the benefit of the doubt, even if this was not her staging a Smollett hoax, as it were, why would somebody else do it? Why? To scare them off, force them into quitting their job, or just to even as a joke, it doesn't make sense. So it doesn't make sense either way, for her to do it or for somebody else. It doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, employees were identified and interviewed and all agreed to provide DNA samples except for Mrs. Brown. That's suspicious right there. Why would she be the only one that's not willing to provide, a DNA sample? Everybody else was like, "Sure, you can take my DNA. It's fine." They want to be proved that they didn't do anything. If you didn't do anything wrong, then there's no reason for you not to give up some DNA and let people see, you know what? I didn't touch that thing. It wasn't me. You can take my DNA. That's fine. Anyway, let's see. She initially cooperated, except for Miss Brown. Initially cooperative Mrs. Brown later requested that the investigation be discontinued. Why would she say that? Why would she want the investigation to be called off? Because she knows she's going to get found out. That's what I think. I think she's guilty of putting this down herself. Like I said, just my opinion. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to be right on this one. On January 14th, the noose was submitted to the Pennsylvania State Police Crime Lab for DNA testing. 10 days later, a search warrant was approved by the Lehigh County District Attorney's Office for Brown's DNA, a sample of which was obtained the same day. Brown's DNA was submitted to compare against DNA recovered from the noose. On March 10th, Pennsylvania State Police Forensics DNA Division issued a report indicating that Brown's DNA matched the DNA profile obtained from the swabs of both the outer surface and inner knotted portion of the noose after it was taken apart. So, look, hers was the only DNA on there, and it was within the knot that was tied. Pretty damning evidence, if you ask me. I'll say it. Methinks that she's the one that planted it. She's pulling a Smollett, and she wants to play the victim. Why? I have no idea. I couldn't tell you. Anyway, and let's see, I'm going to jump to the next here. In January, the Allentown School District celebrated Brown in a post on Instagram, calling her deeply committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion. In 24, Brown was named a social justice ambassador for the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission. Look, that paragraph right there tells me that she wanted to play the victim and she wanted the attention. She's been celebrated and she's like, "Oh, I'm going to stay in the spotlight." Again, this is just my opinion, but she got a little bit of attention. She got the limelight for a little bit and she didn't want to lose it. I mean, that's what I think. Could be wrong. I don't think I am, though. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and move on. The last thing I got here is the Pete Hegseth story. Now, this is the story about supposedly there was text messages that were accidentally leaked to the press. The person who got these text messages was the same guy that pushed the Russia hoax and a couple other things. It's not, I mean, I don't believe that that Jeffrey Goldberg was the reporter. I had to go back a couple pages to remember that, but Jeffrey Goldberg was, like I said, same guy that pushed the Russia hoax. He had a couple other things that were, not correct. there's a couple different things about this. Okay, one is people are saying that Pete Hegseth is incompetent. Maybe he was drinking, blah blah blah, when he accidentally sent this out. And then the other story is that people are saying that this is a 3D chess or 4D chess move, and they're trying to put out some other fires. I'm gonna tell you what I think about this. I'm gonna show you this real quick too. This is the supposed text messages. Okay, now you've got JD Vance at Pete Hegseth. If you think we should do it, let's go. I just hate bailing Europe out again. Let's see. Let's just make sure our messaging is tight here, and if there are things we can do upfront to minimize risk to Saudi oil facilities, we should do it. VP, I fully share your loathing of European freeloading. It's pathetic. But Mike is correct. We are the only ones on planet, on our side of the ledger, who can do this. Nobody else is even close. Question is timing. I feel like now this is a good time to blah, 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 POTUS directive. Look, in a nutshell, I'm just going to say, in a nutshell, okay, this is what I think about this. Why, if you're discussing, green lighting bombings of the Houthis, and this is what this is about. I know I'm not being a whole clear. Sometimes I have problems articulating my point, but I'm gonna try to do the best I can here on this. If somebody like Pete Hegseth, he's the Secretary of Defense. Now, why would you put in a text message about bombing the Houthis and timing and everything else? It's a little strange to me, especially this guy works in the Pentagon. If this stuff was taking place, why wouldn't the discussions be happening at the Pentagon? Why would you put it in a text message? That's what I'm thinking on this. I don't think that this was an accidental text, as it were. I think that it seems more intentional, especially going to the Russia hoax journalist. It seems a little intentional to me. This is my opinion, but it seems intentional. Why would you accidentally leak this? Why would this be put out in a text form? I understand it was on what was the on Signal was the app, I guess. It's a texting app. I'll be honest with you, I never heard of it until now. But why would you put it in a text message? Whether you're using Signal or Snapchat or whatever the hell you're using, this kind of stuff is handled at the Pentagon or behind closed doors in the Oval Office. This doesn't make sense as far as putting it in a text message. This is my opinion again, but I don't think that this was something that was just an accident. It tends, in my mind, to be more something that was intentional. Because again, why would you put it out in a text message? Why wouldn't you just have this in a meeting behind closed doors at the Pentagon, the White House, what have you? This is not something that would happen over text. That's just what I think about it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was an accident, but I tend to think that stuff like this would happen behind closed doors, not in a text message. Again, I could be wrong, but maybe I am. I don't know. I don't know for sure. I guess we'll find out when more. I mean, I'm sure more stuff will come out about this. This just happened last night, so I'm sure more will come out about this, and I'll keep up on it and try to let everybody know. But anyway, that's what I got for this morning. I appreciate you hanging out, especially through that last rant, if you made it through there. But hey, if you like what you saw, you can follow me on Rumble. You can subscribe on YouTube, but go to Rumble. Rumble's where it's at. They got the lineup. They're dominating this space. They got the #1 live shows all from 9 a.m. all the way through 3 o'clock. So go to Rumble. That's where it's at. You can also follow me on X at ThePoliticalRay. Again, appreciate you hanging out. Y'all have a blessed day, and God bless. Take care of each other.